This is the Meat and Potatoes Sports Show. So thanks for listening. This is the very first episode. You got to start somewhere, right? Okay, so essentially the format of the show is going to be a weekly format where we will recap the best sports stories of the week and keep you up to date on the sports world. So, for example, in today's show, we're going to cover topics that occurred the week of February 12th, 2018. So enough of the housekeeping. Let's get right into it, shall we? So the first topic is everyone's favorite topic. Topic, Lavar Ball. All right, the guy we all can't help but pay attention to, like the horrible car crash on the local highway. So right on schedule, Alonso's not playing well, as many of you know. And to be quite honest, the Lakers are playing pretty spectacular without him. I mean, we can be honest about that, right? The Lakers are 8-5, and some of those wins came against some pretty solid and respectable teams, one of them being OKC. That's right, they beat OKC without Lonzo Ball, the piece that they cannot live without. So, Lavar, it's maybe a little bit haphazard to consider him a businessman, considering Triple B is failing by most people's standards, and as Rob Parker likes to say, the 3B should stand for the Better Business Bureau, because he, we're not gonna, I don't want to jump off into a whole nother topic, but the gist of it is a lot of people that bought the shoes haven't received them on time. They've shipped to the wrong locations, they've shipped the wrong sizes, and to be quite honest, overall people aren't happy with the shoe itself. But that's a whole nother topic. The point is, in this story we're talking about now, LeVar Ball had the gall to talk to a reporter while he's in Lithuania. Yeah, that's right, Lithuania. We thought we could escape him while he was away in basketball Siberia, but we did not get that luxury. So LeVar Ball was speaking to a reporter, and he said that essentially Lonzo is going to hold out when it's time for his contract to be re-signed if his brothers aren't signed to the Lakers. Yeah, that's right. You heard that right. Lonzo is going to hold out if his two younger brothers are not signed. It's caught a lot of attention in the media. A lot of people were talking about it, surprisingly holding him to account for those statements. And I got to tell you, people, all his defenders say he only has Lonzo's interests at the forefront of his mind and concerns. Well, I do not understand how that is taking care of Lonzo's concerns. The other sons, yeah, obviously, it's obviously for them and arguably for LeVar's ego. But the point is, this does not help Lonzo in terms of the public eye or his career itself. So I'm failing to understand how people can continue to make that argument in defense of him. And, earlier I didn't take a shot at Lonzo by saying the Lakers are doing better without him, or just as fine if you want to be conservative about it without him, because, the numbers don't lie. They have a winning record without him. Like I said, a few of those pretty wins, some of those wins against very respectable teams like OKC. But just looking at his numbers alone, we're talking a field goal percentage of 35% up until this point, which is the worst for all rookies in the league as of now for this season. A 3-point percentage, that's second worst overall in the league. And a free throw percentage of 48%. So, and then there's people who are big fans of the Balls and Lonzo and all that, and then they'll parse this season is what they'll do, and they'll say, oh, well, he's done so great up until, he's done so great the last X amount of games or whatever. Well, I got to tell you, you're judged by your entire season. So that point in time where he was having what they would call a slump has to factor into that. There's just no way around that. So, is he a bust? No. Is he going to be a bust? No. I think it's too early to say that, to be fair, and I'm not even his biggest fan, but we have to be fair about it, and it's too early to call him a bust. But at the same time, what we can say is that the standards that were set by LeVar Ball, and on a smaller scale, well, not a smaller scale, but Magic Johnson. The reason I say smaller scale is because, how we all know how vocal LeVar Ball is, and him making all these blovious statements about him being better than Steph, and so on and so on, Steph Curry, and so on and so on. But we can say he's been a bust up until this point, and the expectations that his father had set for him, that's not even really arguable. Even his biggest fans, I don't understand how you can argue that. I just rattled you off the numbers. So that's evidence A. That's exhibit A of evidence. And then I guess exhibit B would be the comments and the standards that LeVar Ball set for Alonso going into the league. And you cannot tell me that he was saying that in the future that's what he's going to be. No, and the way that I can back that up is by saying he clearly stated that Lonzo Ball and the Lakers would be going to the playoffs this year. Well, we all know that's not going to happen, and it's not even fairly remotely close to happening. And the season's coming closer and closer to a close, and, that's pretty much a done deal. So, we wish Lonzo the best. I hope he has a successful career. I do, but at the same time, I'm not going to make excuses like all his fans out there and pretend like this season that he's been having has not lived up to the expectations that were set, and he is not the player that we were sold before the draft, and that LeVar very skillfully, using his words, sold us and basically made his son a second overall pick with his words. Pretty impressive stuff. I got to hand it to LeVar. That's one thing you can't take away from the guy is he knows how to use the media. He knows how to essentially manipulate the press into doing his bidding for him, which, hey, in 2018, that is a very, very useful and important skill to possess. There's just no way around it. So time will tell what happens with Lonzo and the Ball family in terms of his younger brothers making it to the NBA, But yeah, so essentially, in a nutshell, LeVar Ball supposedly is going to try to hold, his son's contract hostage to get the younger two brothers signed onto an NBA team, like some sort of, mafia mob don, using leverage against the person that he wants to get something from, and bullying them into doing his wishes. So we'll see if that happens or not. Personally, I don't think that'll happen. I think if Lonzo's play continues to go in the trend that it has been, and it has gotten better, it definitely has gotten better the last dozen games or whatever it is, definitely has gotten better. But you have to remember that when it comes to distractions on any professional sports team, especially NFL, NBA, whatever, they sort of weigh distractions against skill level on this sort of Lebron scale, if you will. And if the performance and the output is not enough to match the distractions and the bloviating of LeVar Ball, I think we'll see a trade happen at some point in his career, which is a shame, because I think the kid does enjoy being a Laker, and hey, who wouldn't want to be, right? So that's about all there is to say about that. Moving on to the next topic, we're going to cover the All-Star Weekend, which was this weekend, as you know. And this year they decided to change the format up, which was pretty cool, to be honest. As many of you probably know, the All-Star game itself was a dying dinosaur of a game, and the league was really looking for a way to shake that up and see if there was something they could do to revive the game. And they did. They did do something to make the attempt to revive it. What they did is they designated two players, designated captains, and those two players were the players who took in the most votes for All-Star votes, which happened to be LeBron James as well as Steph Curry. And they essentially did a playground system of picking players where they alternated picks. I believe I'm not sure who picked first, to be honest, but the point is they alternated teams, and they came up with these two teams You could see the list of teams for yourself. They call them Team LeBron and Team Steph, or what have you, something to that effect. And those two teams are going to go head-to-head on, went head-to-head on Sunday for the All-Star game. Friday was the skills competition, and Saturday was the dunk and three-point contest. So that was All-Star weekend. It was pretty cool. I have to admit the game was a lot more entertaining than it has been in the past. They actually played defense. Can you believe that? In an all-star game, a little bit. Now, when I say they played defense, don't get too excited and think it was playoff level defense or even regular game defense, because no, that's not what it was at all. But they did play some defense. As standards go for an all-star game, they played a good amount of defense, to be honest, and especially in the last minute where it came down to the wire. And Steph Curry basically was just crowded by the towering LeBron James and Kevin Durant, as Team Steph needed to sink a shot to send it to overtime or win, depending on whether they scored a 2-pointer or 3-pointer. But the point is, he was shut down defensively by those towering behemoths. Poor Steph. And he could not get a shot off. The game came to a close, and Team LeBron won the game, and LeBron James won the All-Star MVP award. So good for him. That's cool stuff. He seemed to be happy about that, as well as he should be. It's another achievement to add to his trophy shelf, if you will. And yeah, it was a good game. Players seemed to enjoy it. The fans seemed to enjoy it. So my hat's off to the league for shaking up the formula and putting out a better product in terms of an all-star game than they have in the recent years, where it was essentially dying to the point where people were going to want nothing to do with it soon enough. I promise you. And so finally, our final topic for this show/podcast. This show's a little bit, has maybe quite a little bit fewer topics than regular shows will in the future. We're still kind of getting a feel for the format of the show, and didn't have as much time to prep the topics as we will in the future. We'll have plenty more topics for you in the future, I promise that. I already have some of them compiled for the next show, so you can look forward to that. So, getting into the final topic, which is LeBron James versus, I believe her first name is Laura Ingraham. And it's kind of a bummer because it somewhat overshadowed all the fun and festivities and joviality of the All-Star weekend itself, because this happened on Friday, I believe. And basically, LeBron James and Kevin Durant made a video through an Uber ad or something like that, where they both were very outspoken about politics and what their views were on the president, among other things. One comment that comes to mind is LeBron James says he can tell that the president does not give a S word about the people or about people in general, however he worded it, but that's what he said. So some polarizing topics were definitely included in that, and it made its way to Laura Ingraham, who has her show The Ingraham Angle, and she on her show had a segment where she addressed it and wasn't shy about saying what she felt about the entire show and situation. And it came down to her telling LeBron, to shut up and dribble, which she caught a lot of flack for. And people called her racist and said they were racist comments. Her defense was that she has told many stars in the past to shut up and blank, shut up and whatever. So, for, I believe it was the Dixie Chicks when President Bush was president and they were outspoken against him. She told the Dixie Chicks to shut up and sing. So she was and she's written many books with that format as the title. And she basically used that same format title against LeBron, and people didn't like it. He didn't like it, and it ensued into the typical 2018 fistfight of social media, where people took to social media to let you know their thoughts and how enlightened they are. I stayed out of it myself, as I recommend many of you do, if not all of you do, because, no good comes from it. Everyone has their truth, especially with social media today. And it's kind of, I kind of look at arguments like that and what have you. It's like you're screaming into a bottomless pit. You know what I mean? Unless that's just when you really think of it, that's the reality of it. And I don't want to jump off into a tangent about that. But the fact of the matter is, like I said, everyone has their own opinion and everyone's entitled to it. But at the end of the day, unless you're able to do something with that opinion or reach a large amount of people, I don't see the point in screaming at the end of that bottomless pit. And there were plenty of people in that exact situation on Friday and Saturday morning even, because like I said, it carried over into All-Star weekend, which was kind of a bummer. But aside from that, like I said, good weekend, good All-Star weekend, good overall week, with the Lavar antics. All-Star weekend, just that one thing that, kind of pulled it back a little bit in terms of the festivities that we had with the All-Star game. So it is what it is. Still an overall good week, like I said. So we're going to wrap things up here. Like I said, short podcast for the first one. Short show for the first one. I hope you enjoyed it. Please bear with me. Thanks for putting up with us. And have a great week. Because until next time, this is the Meat and Potato Sports Show signing off. Stay tuned until the next one. Your host, EB, signing off.